Good. See if it can happen. Welcome to the Mac, where it's Freedom Friday. I believe it's August 1st, 2025.
First of the month.
The first of the
month. What do the youngins say? It's the first of the month.
Do they say that?
I doubt the youngins know a Bone Thugs and Harmony reference.
Oh, was that what the reference is?
Yeah.
You get asynchronously paid through Venmo. So, I don't know if it's the 1st or the 15th. I think they're like
fair.
Whenever the Venmo hits.
Yeah, whenever the Cash App slaps. Sure.
Okay, Moni.
Hey-o.
I'm young sometimes.
You're in charge. You're the marketing Bigfoot. So what does that mean?
I just was like, there I am. So, and if you've thought that you've seen me before, maybe you have. But here I am. I have big feet. It doesn't matter. We were going to go over the last 3 episodes just sort of to catch our breath, because I think, adding more is maybe let's hit the pause button. So we wanted to go over the last 3 episodes, their content, and then I just had some questions that sort of synthesized it, but I just want to spread it around because everybody was here for this. But I'll go back in chronological order. Last week we had Dr. Augustin Fu, who talked to us about ad fraud, and that has been performing very well on the socials. I think people are really responding to it because of the headline. It was like, "You've been sold a lie," and people are like, "What?" So they're interested in that. And then before that, we had on who was talking about the subprime data crisis, which is similarly related. And then before that, which is, come on, it's all about data brokers, where they get it, how they get it, what they're getting off of it, what we could get off of it, introducing the concept of diginity, which is this agency, identity, data. So ad fraud. Then you have data. And then we met with, what's that guy's name? Pitchfire, Ryan. Who was talking about just a better way to do cold outreach. And then one of the stats from there was like, there's 6 billion messages going unread. Salespeople are filling up inboxes, filling out forms.
They're all in my Gmail promotions tab.
And they're adding to the data problem. Sort of exacerbated by the ad fraud, which, it's sort of just, rather than get some more people on here, I just wanted to take a beat and say, wow, there's a lot that we can talk about, a lot of different things that we can break out. But I don't know. I thought that there was some similar lines. My question was, what does cold outreach and fraud have in common? That was the question. Thought it was provocative. Some of these things that we're incentivized to do are actively taking money away from us, like the value that we could extract from the system. So it's like, when do you feel like a lamprey? When do you feel like a vampire? When do you feel like I'm a zombie and I need brains? When do you feel like, or do I need some food and I need to just maybe hit the gym? I think we just like to be on the treadmill. And I think we're taking value as we're trying to get it. So there's something there. So I'll just open that, kind of bringing in all of the themes: cold outreach, fraud. What do they have in common? What do y'all think?
Oh, hey.
Oh,
let's pause that question before we dive in. I wanted to. I spontaneously invited Laurel Gregory to jump in. Laurel is the other. She and Colt Reiner have Scrappy AF.
Yes.
Hey,
oh, wow.
We know that.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
I've known Laurel since she was 6 years old, and she was originally one of my very first employees for my first agency. I started in 1987. And then she was one of the top leaders at ZDCA in the Hybrid Creative. She was our creative director. And we've worked together for many years on a lot of different projects. And she's one of the most brilliant creatives and strategic minds that I know. So really stoked to invite her. And Colt and I have been talking about Mac, and she's like, "What's this Mac thing? Like, I want to know about this Mac thing." So, welcome, Laurel.
Welcome.
Thanks for that nice intro, Zach. I'm
Yeah.
very interested to participate and listen to you guys.
So thorough. Now we know everything. We were going over some previous episodes that we were having we're covering more technical things like data, ad fraud, sales. But seeing as you're a creative in this moment, maybe you can just kind of give us your stance on how this moment finds you. You're Friday, you're creative, you're in marketing. Like, what's your pulse like? What are the thoughts that you're thinking? What are the themes that you're kind of contemplating?
Well, a big part of my mind is getting sucked into what's happening with AI in my
No, we
space.
never heard. Wait, what is it?
We don't talk about that at all.
I'm sure
Hey,
you
what?
do. It's on everyone's mind. But in my off time, I'm trying to navigate that and think about how to stay relevant and how to stay important and embedded with all my clients so that the value that I bring as a human is recognized. So it's a big part of where my extra brain space goes. But
Massive.
today I'm just working on branding and logos and websites and all the things you do to wrap up a week.
Totally.
So,
And then,
Laurel, what's your official AI stance? What's your stance on it?
I mean, I was really against it for a long time. It felt very much in conflict with a lot of my own ethos around, art for the sake of art. But I have found a way into a relationship with it, especially for my clients, where I try to leverage it where humans could do the work, but it could be saving them dollars to have AI do it when it's not in the conceptual art space and more in the, planning, proposal writing, RFP bids, things that are a little bit more content specific and less about the art piece of it.
Got it.
that's dope. And then one thing that you brought up is, you're obsessed about now in AI. I'm really concerned about expressing the value of human, input. Haven't we always had, point to like, they're like, no. But it's weird. I think like we haven't had to fight this hard, but you have had to prove before on the spreadsheet or whatever, like before it seemed like it was easier, or maybe just give us some of your, experience and like background there. Like, haven't you always had to prove your value and now?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the advocating for your value in any position is always part of the job, right? Showing up, making agreements, following through. I think the different conversation now is that there is a perceived there's a perception that I can use AI to get from point A to point B and do it cheaper and faster, right? I'm talking about from the client's perspective.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the conversation is more focused around, what's different from that process versus working with a human and getting, human generated artwork in the end versus something that could be composed by any sort of algorithm. So I think that part of the conversation is a little bit different, but it is still part of the same discussion. It's about the perceived value and the true value of the work.
Ooh, perceived
Laurel.
value, true value. Uh-oh. Wow. Okay, go, Jerry.
That perked me up a little bit. Nice to meet you. I'm Jay, and I'm thinking about branding. I interviewed someone this week, and I asked him what is a brand nowadays. And you were saying you're working on logos and stuff like that, and all that sort of stuff. And my question is, how much of the stuff that we've historically created, like logos and content and special fonts and stuff like that, actually breaks through and means something versus what a company actually stands for?
I think it really depends on the audience. I think some audience people are swayed by something that's shiny and pretty, and other people really are ethics and, foundationally, the brand authenticity really matters to them. Their social, the work that they do in the space, how they're contributing to humanity. I think we as consumers have such, differing shades of gray as far as how we buy into brand and how we express through our spending, an investment in brands. So for me, I think as a branding strategist, my goal is always to have a very comprehensive and like multifaceted brand trade dress. And when I use that term, Zach's very familiar with, is every aspect of a brand. It's not just the mark. It's, how you speak about the company. It's how people show up at trade shows. It's how you market your products. It's how you engage with your customers. It's the comments on the social media. All of that is part of how the brand shows up. And I think if you have a very well-rounded brand trade dress, then you can hit all those points for different types of consumers. You can have the flash and the beautiful graphics for the people that are wowed by that. And then you can also have the brand authenticity that's important for other people.
So
That's a great answer. I like that.
I got a
Thank
question. Nice to meet you, Laurel and Michael. I'm an entrepreneurial dot connector, as you can see on the screen. What do you do when you have someone tell you that this is what our brand is about? This is what we want it to this is the perception that we want it to have. And from your interactions with those people that they're full of shit. And that it's just not, it's not going to be sustainable. It's not going to turn into what they want it to. Do you push back and say, hey, I understand that you think that's what people are going to want to hear, and you think that's what is going to make you successful, but really that's not who you are. So you're risking compromising whatever brand you try to build. Maybe you should go in this direction instead.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's such a important question. Zach and I have run into this many years doing lots of brands together. The companies that come to you and they definitely have something, right? And they have a differentiator. They have something that really you can easily leverage to create, a great position for them in the market. And then there are others that I would call almost kind of like basic. I'm just going to put it that way. There's that minimal marketing language, like they don't really have anything special to say, and they're asking you to make something up. And that can sometimes feel like being put in a values conflicting space. I've actually fired clients because they weren't able to meet me in that place of what I want to help build for brands. But in other circumstances, I help with the aspirational view of the brand. So where do you want to be? And then part of the strategy is not just where we are right now, but it's like making that choice together and committing to like make those steps towards being who they want to be in the space. And then we can market as if we are that, but we know we're headed towards it with the strategy.
We call it, or Bob Domans from, I can't remember the agency, a really great B2B agency, calls it keeping your be-do say in order.
Yeah.
And you be the meaningful company that you want to be, the purpose-driven company that you want to be. Then you do and take the actions that it takes to make those that to be self-evidently true, and then and only then do you say that you are those things. And so to be an aspirational brand and to go out there and just say that you are those things before you've done the be and do sets you up for inauthentic failure.
Yeah.
Does anybody have anything to say? Because I do.
Go.
We all have things to say.
You always have something to say.
I'm just thinking, if I'm a busy CEO, I'm just flying by this concept like, nah. I'm just like, I have to get my B. I got to get my do. I got to get my say. Guy, get out of my way. And so it's like, I think a lot of people, maybe time is of the essence. And I think a lot of these things are like, no, there's these essential ingredients that you have to get right. And they're like, shut the up. I got to go to market, and you're like, no. Yeah. No. Yeah. And then you like rush some shit out the door, and then what my thought was, God bless us. We're having these conversations about being and doing and saying. And right now they're going to buy the cheapest motherfucking ad space that they can. And they are going to look at it and be like, ooh, that didn't quite work, did it? Because they're looking at it from the wrong lens. And so like all of these beautiful things that we're doing, we're making Sistine Chapels. We're Michelangelo's strapped to the ceiling, painting this. Oh my God, your beautiful brand trade dress. And it's hemmed at the ankles. And then they make the shittiest ad buys and faff your budget up the wall. And you're like, hold on. You know, I think there's an interesting thing that they're like, it doesn't matter. Your creativity doesn't matter. Well, it's because you didn't buy in a way that made it make sense. And
Yeah,
that's
but
why I
aren't
think
they,
there's,
Jake? Aren't they getting 200% returns on
well,
these
that's
ad buys?
and that's why they're like, I actually can just skip all the be do say stuff, crank out some ad that like someone. I'm just like, I'm not advocating for anything. I'm just saying a lot of this stuff feels like molasses in their entrepreneurial engines, and I think like it's hard to then say, you know, now back to, you know, Laurel's point about the moment in time where AI is sort of speeding up. They're like, man, I think it can kind of crank a couple more knobs, and all they need to do is think that it can. They don't know it. They won't know it. But my point is about trying to bring back in the ad fraud and the data and all this stuff is that we're making really beautiful ads. We're really getting people to compel and tell and sell well for their health. And then they make whack ass decisions. They get whack ass dashboards that are full of whack ass information. And then they kick you to the curb and they're like, I'm sorry, that creativity stuff doesn't work. I'm going to get this, you know, what? I'm going to get Dikembe Mutombo resurrected from the grave to dribble our brand logo down, you know, and you're like, I can't, like, we should stop him, but he's going to keep talking, aren't they? So, you know, I'm just like, I think it's a dangerous time to advocate for doing right, being right, saying right, because they just don't have time.
I think the reality is there's going to be a correction. You know, there's going to be a lot of mistakes made, and hopefully the truth of it comes back to the surface. And there is a level of waiting game or patience that, you know, we have to bring to the table, which is we know that the strategies that we would employ or the designs we would offer them are the best choices based on our years and decades of experience. And if they choose to take it and run with it and have the success, there's the baseline data that you needed. But if they don't, then there's this kind of, okay, well, when you're ready, come back and let's fix it, you know?
Oh, how many times has that happened? Have you had people that were like, get out of here, I'm going to fix it, and then they come back? Have you had?
Oh, yeah.
I've had 2 clients come back around after not doing what I recommended. Yeah.
How much you talked about patience, and that's such a big thing, especially in B2B marketing, the lack thereof. The time it takes to let a brand vest, we don't give it, right? So it's like, how much of it is like you've gone down the wrong direction, and how much of it is like you just haven't let this vest, you haven't given the audience time to get familiar with it, make a connection to it, trust it, right? We want the 1 for 1. Like, I put it out there, someone's supposed to respond immediately, and if they don't, then I screwed up and I got to change.
Instant gratification.
Exactly. Can't tell you how many companies I've been through where they literally we revamp the website every year. Like, it's just a project that we do all the time.
Right.
So how much of it is like we need to correct because there's an issue, and how much of it is like we just have not given this enough time to actually vest and you know, produce results for us?
I mean, I would look at SEO as a good example of that. Like, you're just not going to rank higher in a day after doing some work, you know? If you're doing organic white hat SEO, it's going to take a little bit of time. But that's why the strategy as a whole is really important, which is what are our, like, what's the low hanging fruit? What's going to get us the most brand recognition the fastest, right? And you have that plan for the first 30 days. And in the meantime, you have a plan that is vesting longer visibility, or you have some activations planned or whatever that is, so that they do see some instant gratification, but that there's an awareness and agreement between you and the client about where they're going to see the big ramp and, you know, the checkpoints of where you're going to see that over time, instead of it being like, yeah, let's do this whole big thing and you're going to see it exactly in 1 month. You know, I think that's setting you up to fail if it's not communicated correctly.
Yeah, people love that. They want it. They want it tomorrow. Yesterday, actually, if you can.
Yeah.
Having some brand people in the house, I think this is interesting. And I was thinking, oh, they really need to have a standout thing. You just got to look different. You got to look creative. You got to be bold. And then if you go and buy beer at the liquor store or the beer depot or wherever, these labels are all insane. Everybody has gone insane, and everything looks like, whoa. And like probably the boldest stuff you could do is just one color with like a pickle, just kind of like, like, or something, like, not a lot, But
Right.
I like everything is so gloriously designed in this. And I wonder if y'all are thinking like, is there something there? Like some people are saying it just has to look beautiful. It has to be stunning. It has to be original. And then next to 10 things that look stunningly original, it's, you know, it's like after a while, you're like, okay, I feel like I'm in Brooklyn and y'all are hipsters. What do you think about that?
I mean, definitely, I'll just answer and say that I think it's really important to know what your competitors are doing. If you know who's going to be on the shelf next to you, like that's the most important thing to know what their colors are, how you're going to look. You know, if you don't do that research, then you are potentially going to get lost in the white noise of whatever's on the full shelf. But
You know, I was just thinking if there's a battle of the bands, you should probably know who's playing. Is it a polka band? Is it a mariachi band? If you're thinking of throwing down death metal and you know what I mean, you should probably figure that out.
Jake, I don't think you could
Something else here. Oh, go ahead,
propose
Zach.
too, because one of the most famous microbrews in America is Russian River Brewery, and Pliny the Elder is one of the most famous beers in the world.
Right, right.
And Laurel actually is a designer for their labels, and one of their most successful beers out there is called STS, and it's a very simple label, and it's that brewing is still going, and Laurel did exactly what you just suggested with that brand.
Cheers.
But Laurel, I have a question. You know, I fall for the labels a lot of the time, but I always go back to Sloop, which is the one I like the most. At least it's an East Coast IPA, right? So, you know, and the label's simple. But the truth is, I like the Sloop beer. I like the way it tastes. And consistently, it's always the same. And it's fairly consistent that I try some other IPA and I'm not quite as pleased with that. So that's part of it too, right? It's the product.
Well, the brand just wants a chance, right? I mean, that's the whole point of marketing is to get that first sip in you. So then you can see if the product's good. So it doesn't matter what the label looks like. As soon as you've had it, you know if you like it or not. So I think that's the thing about branding is that first chance. It's that opening, is the door opening, you know? And so I think if it's Pliny the Elder, which is a relatively basic, I can tell you all kinds of stories about how little creative control I had in that process. But it's, you know, it's really just a matter of, is the beer good once you have that first sip? But you have to be able to create a situation where they're willing to pull it off the shelf and try it the first time.
So, Laura, what's the approach when you're working with a company to get them to really hone in on what's unique about their brand, how to establish their brand, how to start crafting this idea? Because one of the things that I think that I've run into in the past with companies and their brand is like, they know who they want to be per se, but if you don't like that, we'll change it. You know, that's like, oh, you don't like us doing that? We'll do that. The different thing. You know, I've been in organizations where it's like there's an established brand, logo, color, whatever, and the freaking CEO went to Michigan, so now they're yellow and blue. It's just like you would I interpret that as disrespect to the brand. It's like new CEO of Starbucks would never come and be like, you know, we should be orange. Like, it's stupid, but like these companies do it all the time. So like, what part of it is like, I really am this and I'm sticking my fork in this, or it's like, I'll be whatever you want me to be as long as you buy my stuff?
I think it's important that a brand has consistency, and it doesn't mean they can't rebrand, but you have to have a through line. You have to have something that's recognizable that speaks to the same consumer group so they still trust you. You know, if you keep revamping, you have to start from the beginning all over again and get that customer loyalty again. So if you know, have something that's working, you want to work within that, whatever that looks like for that brand, to then evolve it and grow it.
So what are the rules for changing? So what are the rules for changing? Like when you work with a brand, they'd be like, I want to change colors or fonts or whatever it is related to the brand. What are the ground rules? Whether like that's okay versus this is not a good idea.
I mean, there are boundaries. I definitely would draw them, but it's different for every brand. Sometimes it's, okay, like how big of a jump are we doing? Is it just aesthetic, or do you actually have a whole new product line and a whole new target, whole new vertical you're going after? In which case, that offers a little bit more opening, right? Because it's a new marketplace. But if it's the same marketplace and the same consumers, like I said, you have to have through lines. So you might pick the typeface and just stick with that, or you might change the typeface and pick, keep the icon, or you might just shift the colors and keep the composition. Like, I do think that there needs to be a conversation around how baby steps and then like big brand evolution. We're upping our game. And if you go big and go far away from where you were, it has to be super intentional and strategic so that the whole kind of launch of it is not disruptive to existing marketplace, but it still creates that splash you want in the new growth markets.
So when that CEO Mooney goes into, is that a real live example?
Real life example. A real life example happening. Yeah.
Doesn't that sort of send the message that from the top of the company that marketing doesn't matter?
It's disrespect. It's a lack of understanding. It's really just CEOs come in and want the company to be a reflection of them when the brand is its own individual entity, like it exists outside of you. I think that's one of the biggest sort of mistakes that companies make. The C-level is not there to protect the brand, which is their job. They're there to try to define the brand, which is not their job, in my opinion. Laura, you can.
Well, I remember way back when, in my early days of evolution and the sponsorship marketing world, the famous example of like what companies choose to sponsor what was at the time the example was given, the Visa CEO liked horse racing. So they sponsored horse racing. And it was like, does that have anything to do with what our brand is about? Probably not, because it probably never sponsored horse racing until all of a sudden it had a CEO that wanted to do it. And that kind of stuff it just gives it gives a bad name or sets a bad tone for the CEO, but it also does a disservice for marketing, and in this case, sponsorship marketing in and of itself, because it's like it's misapplied and it doesn't work, and people say, "Oh, it doesn't work," and it's
like
a whole sort of spiral.
But it works. It works if you put an advertising for that sponsorship in front of the CEO's home and the person sees it, or if you put it on the radio station that the CEO listens to, then they will think that the advertising is everywhere and it's successful.
Interesting. I listened to, I don't know if you guys ever listened to Marketplace, but I listened to Marketplace on the radio, and they just did a piece yesterday on how there's a mass exodus of CEOs happening right now with tariffs, with a lot of the changes that are happening with the economy, that we're having big companies are letting go of their CEOs at a higher pace than ever before. And it'd be interesting to see what happens if that shift actually comes together, because they're going to look at their team that they have underneath the CEO and ask them to start running things. There might be more of a corporate shift happening with the current state of the world.
So wait. I didn't have CEOs are going away on my bingo card for the Mac call on Friday afternoon.
Yeah, no, I'll see if I can find a piece on it.
That's super interesting, because I always think about systems thinking, like always. And just because you have a CEO, if you have you don't have any of the other dots that you need in a company, and they're not connecting, it doesn't mean you're going to be successful. So I think that's super interesting. The CEO is sometimes just a figurehead.
Yeah.
Well, even when they are still the leadership, it matters. And they're typically, what I've seen the last 10 plus years is they know the least about marketing and think they know the most. And want to put their hand in there and have it be some sort of reflection of them. And it's been to the detriment of marketing, in my opinion.
It definitely is. And so many times derails the original vision. I mean, that's one of the reasons that you do brand strategy to begin with, is you get alignment across all the stakeholders, and then you have this, kind of foundation that you've got that everyone agreed on, and you have to stick to it. And that's hopefully why your branding doesn't go off the rails. But so often people in leadership, especially changing leadership, like you're saying, want their own flavor. They want their own, injection so they can own it. And that's a very difficult thing to navigate, especially if you aren't empowered to push back on it.
Yeah.
We're talking so passionately, and I just was like, oh my God, we care about something that is invisible. Like, we care for the spirit of something. And I was like, we're talking about brand, and they're like, all I know is business, man. I like, thank you. But the brand thing, I just know business. And I'm like, we stand up for marketing, which is invisible things. It's like the entity of it. And what I was thinking is like, consumers watch the movies of advertising. They're like the main characters, and marketing is like filmmaking. We're really about directing. We're about casting. We're about set design. We're about screenplays, like the lights. Oh my God, the idea, and people are like, what are you talking about? And I love, like, everyone who knows and has been on a film set that killed, and you really sent out something great, a marketing. Now I'm talking about marketing. You've been in a marketing team and you sent out something dope. It's amazing. It's like you were a part of this thing, but you can't quite describe it. And I just think it's so interesting that we're sticking up for something that's essentially invisible.
Yeah.
And these people are like, I can see myself in the marketing now. And you're like, oh, good. And then my brand persona, I have to personal brand. I have to brand myself. And you're like, oh, good. So we're sort of helping people do this, but they've taken over our movie sets, and we know what makes a good movie, but we're like, yeah, you can hold the camera. All right. Yeah, no. You can. Oh yeah. Do whatever you want with the mic. But I'm like, and then we're like, these movies suck. I'm just like, because there's something about us being frustrated directors and auteurs that isn't helping.
You make a good point about the personal brand, which could lead to the personal branding could lead to why the C-level wants to be involved in the corporate branding, because it's attached, right?
I can see myself now.
It's ego.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Very beginning of this call, which was kind of talking about content that's been addressed before and subjects. Jake, I would love to see you tackle this CEO. Like, I just posted a Forbes article about it. I'd love to see you tackle this and make it a subject for an upcoming MAC meeting, because I feel like this could be, the eclipse of the CEO and the emergence of the CMO in higher leadership, or maybe the marketing teams or the agencies that work with the companies. And like, if there's a lot of power, that's being sunset with a lot of these companies, maybe there's a paradigm shift happening here.
I mean, I'm with you.
It's time for something like Marketing Accountability Council to like advocate for the creative teams to take the reins back.
I would say, but if you don't have the CFO in the Hunger Games, the CFO is going to get to that fucking backpack so fast.
True.
Oh,
COO and CFO are going to be battling for that one hardcore.
CTO is going to grab that shit. CIO going to grab that shit.
And my fear about the CMO is that we have a lost generation of them who only know digital and actually really don't understand all
of that. That might be why they're being. I was just thinking the same thing, Moni. I was like, well, you oversaw like this whole fake particle board world,
right?
Where you bought a bunch of penny ads and thought you were like, what? So, whoops. But now I'm thinking that the CMO
Jessica wants to land the
okay,
plane.
Yeah, get it.
What do you have to say, Jessica?
I love when somebody brings up ego. You guys know that's like my thing. I love that. So when I hear you say that, Laurel, I think about everything that we've discussed on this call about the Michigan colors or whatever. That guy is like, how can I show that I'm doing something? How can I quantify or qualify myself by making a big change? Because that's about ego rather than stepping back and letting things that work, right? And I think that there's layers to how marketers need to navigate not only their job as somebody who's creating content and the output that's going to, get you in the door the first sip, but also psychologically working internally with teams and leaders who are trying to feed their ego. And so it's setting expectations or almost, I don't want to say the word, no, manipulating, right? They're feeding their ego while also getting what the customer actually will need. And so I feel like that is the art of a marketer, which is why marketers are also like psychologists, because you have to trick the leadership into believing that they are saying it or they are responsible so that they can take the credit when it goes right, because you're the unsung hero as a marketer. In order to in order to make it work, you have to sacrifice yourself and like do that invisible thing that Jake's saying.
Yeah. I love what you just said. I mean, I use the word brand therapy for a reason in my process, because it is absolutely that. But behind the scenes, what you're saying, Jessica, is so true, which is there is a level of manipulation. We use that word in such a negative way most times, but I'll just say it's like being a like air traffic controller, right? So you know where you're headed and what you have to do, and you know the right symbols or whatever to do to get there, but it's the person to person communication and it's the ego therapy that has to happen in the process in order to get them to agree that this is the right direction. Zach, you should talk about the gorilla arm, you know?
Yeah, sure. So it's funny. I just did a gorilla arm exercise. I just did a whole brand guidelines and brand strategy for our brand style guides for a company that was founded in a cannabis company founded in 2013. And they're one of the few continued successful ones. They're in New York. They're called Jetty. And my mom used to tell me this story of how there was this young, brilliant portrait artist, and he got the opportunity to draw up and be a part of this contest for the king to create a perfect portrait of the king. And whoever got the king chose their portrait would become the court's formal portrait artist and stay as part of the kingdom. And so he created this brilliant, perfect, amazing portrait of the king. And he's waiting to go into the king's chamber, and he's super nervous, and the guard's standing there. And then he comes in and he shows this perfect portrait to the king, his best work he's ever done. And the king looks at it and says, "No, that's not good enough. Next." And he's just devastated. And he's walking out. As he comes out of the room, he's upset. He's crying. And the guard's like, "What's the matter? Why are you so upset?" And he's like, "I thought I had made the most perfect painting for the king, the most ultimate portrait." And he's like, "Well, let me take a look at it." And he looks at it and he's like, "Oh, I know what's wrong with it. It's missing a gorilla arm." He's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, if you had painted it perfectly, but you made his left arm just hairy and big like a gorilla, he would have looked at it and said, 'It's perfect. I love it. Just change that arm so it doesn't look like a gorilla arm, and it'll be just what I wanted.'" And so we do that in design often, where we'll give like logo options, and then we'll leave ones that we would normally not include, but they serve as the gorilla arm to help drive their attention to the design that you want.
It's a very delicate process, though, because there are people that will choose the gorilla arm, and you have to be ready to stand behind it. But I think that the main point that I take away from that gorilla arm is you're allowing that person to be involved in the art direction, creative direction process, so they have that ownership and ego, but you're not giving them full creative control over the direction, because you, as the specialist who's being hired to do this, is the one that really should be architecting that. If you're doing a good job of obviously distilling information and knowledge and data and all that to do it. So, being able to offer a gorilla arm in whatever small way that makes sense allows them to be a part of it and to have ownership and ego.
Wow.
How much, Zach and Laurel, I know about Zach. You talk about your upbringing, and Laurel, you probably had a similar upbringing if you were 6 and knew Zach. How much of your upbringing contributes to your worldview and how you look at marketing? Because you talk about hippies and stuff like that, right? Like that's part of it, and it seems like you're extremely wise and extremely positive. A worldview that's very uplifting. So I appreciate that. Does that contribute to the way you look at marketing?
Are you speaking to me?
Both of you. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
making assumptions about you. I mean, that I know about Zach, but both of you.
We were
Yeah,
raised
I mean,
by
I think
hugging dirt worshippers for sure.
Yeah, I think that's the way Zach put it.
I think having had such a open-minded and, you know, well-educated upbringing, in the sense that both my parents are critical thinkers and have been challenging my whole life, has, you know, kind of planted the seeds for me to do that in my own life and explore. I think that being able to be a good communicator started very young for me, being communicated with as an adult, and that has led me to nurture peer counseling techniques and landmark forum techniques, and to bring that into my work environment, to be a manager, to be a leader, and to be a good communicator with clients. So I guess that might be part of it. But I think, you know, we were very blessed, Zach and I, to have these colorful, thoughtful, powerful women as mothers and best friends. And I'm grateful for that, for sure.
I'm sure your clients are too.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when I work in very corporate environments, just because I'm obviously a mess today, but I'm a very colorful person. And I think sometimes that can be, you know, okay, because it's an exception because you're the creative person that's in the room. But it can sometimes be, you know, you're breaking stereotypes by not having the Mad Men marketing person, the look of the suit. Yeah.
Sometimes I think we got a little woo with our process. Laurel and I had a really interesting lens into the experience of the business owner, or not quite even CEOs at this point, wanting to drive their brands into what they thought they were. And we had to kind of break them of what the market really wanted, which was, we were positioned, our agency was in Santa Rosa, California, where which is just south of the Emerald Triangle. And as cannabis became legal, you had hundreds and hundreds of farmers that had been outlaws, that everything was spit in a handshake. Nobody had a contract. Nobody had a logo. They didn't want to put their name on anything. That all of a sudden cannabis is becoming legal. So there was this flood of businesses coming south and through Santa Rosa. And we were the go-to agency. How many cannabis brands did we build, Laurel?
Over 100.
So we built over 100 brands. And you had all these farmers with dirt under their fingernails that were like ready to go legal, and they thought they knew exactly what they wanted to do, and they were trying to build the brands in their images, and they were completely disconnected with the dispensary scene, with the consumers, and our process of doing brand therapy with them. Our brand strategy workshops that we would do continued to get more and more involved, and we continued to kind of try to drive them and help them think like a lot of the good ideas were their ideas, but bringing in some of our more kind of holistic upbringing, and we and maybe more esoteric upbringing, we would do a kind of a tarot reading with them. There's this book, Winning the Story Wars by Jonah Sachs, which is a tremendous book that basically brings in Joseph Campbell's mythology, and bringing in things like the hero's journey and integrating the hero's journey into the story. And they actually put together like a archetype tarot deck that came with this book. And we would sit down with square folks, hippies, whatever, entrepreneurs, and we'd sit down and do like a tarot reading with them and have them kind of pick their archetype and just decide who it is. And many times most of the time, that process went over really well, and people really embraced the different archetypes with it. Sometimes it was a little too woo-woo for them, for sure.
Here's a question. As you're saying all these wonderful things, and I'm like, yeah, just throw some like bones down and say, let's read the bones.
Yeah.
Because I would love to do that in a marketing meeting. And they're like, oh shit. And you're like, the bones. Anyway, give me $20,000. I have a question for you. You made some advice to people. They took your advice. So, like, talk about market share, the returns. I mean, some really great designs go and die. I think if you're a creative person, you're a resilient person, because you know there's a graveyard full of really good ideas that just died. But there's some that took off. When you're saying I gave them good design shit and it came back. Like, tell me about that ROI where they were like, man, we did this one thing, tweaked it up, and then like, just give me some like numbers, because they only speak in numbers. So tell me like the numbers, like 100 brands. That's amazing. But maybe just give me some more things, like just you know what I mean? Like, if just pretend
Well,
I have
rejected-
$1,000, $1 million right now.
In our contract, it said that rejected designs we retained ownership of.
Yes, I
A
got
lot
that
of times,
too.
If there was something we really loved that somebody just put on the cutting room floor, we'd file it away and save it for other future opportunities.
Love that. Love that for your journey. And then you can recycle that and save a mint doing that and being like, hey, this idea didn't work over here. You might like this. But I mean,
it was really rare that we've ever used anything again, though. Like, I'll just say, like, it's more of a pipe dream of like, we can if we want. But I think that if you're really deep in the creative process doing it right, it's very unusual that something that you've already done is going to fit. Now, the concept or like the idea of it, maybe there's another application for a negative space cut out of something, like that same idea. But
give me the numbers. Give me numbers, like some success stories. Like if there was a bunch of bankers here and you'd be like, I got them this much money when I'm change this shit to red or blue, or give me some art shit.
We designed the labeling and branding for a company called FloraCal, which was a local Sonoma County owned cannabis brand. It was since acquired by Cresco, which is a multi-state based out of Chicago, and now they've brought it into their portfolio of flower. They're in almost every legal state in the United States, and this is their premium top shelf flower brand. So you can see, and they never changed their logo, they never changed the labeling very much. It's all pretty much the exact same design and trade dress that we created, and it's national everywhere now.
Have you ever had somebody cry and say thank you? Oh my God. Like, oh my God. Thank you.
I haven't had someone come back, and cry later and say thank you. Oh my God. I've had people send me emails saying, thank you so much. This worked out, but I haven't had someone cry.
No,
okay. That's a big ask.
Laurel, we made one of your clients cry just when we did this last logo together with Scrappy.
Was that when you kicked him in the shin, Zach? Because that doesn't count.
No.
Why do you do that in your meetings?
Are you talking about CAFTA?
Yeah, CAFTA. When we presented
I'm saying that in the process, I've made many people cry. Okay. But what I'm saying is a couple months later when they look at their ROI, I haven't had someone come to me and like say, to Jake's point,
yeah,
we made so much money. I'm crying over here.
Most cannabis brands are crying right now, but not in a good way.
I have had people have massive success, but like I'm not a numbers person, Jake, so I don't have ROI to give you.
But it's just great to be a part of those things and to know like some of these marketing advice, like a lot of our things fall on deaf ears. You hear it, but you're not going to do anything. You go to the conference, you're not going to do anything. You download the white paper, you're not going to do anything. You got the email newsletter, you're not going to do anything. So it's amazing to have somebody say, hey, I want some advice. God, that's already crazy. And now here, we'll work this together. Oh my God. And they did it. And then please, I just think it's nice to talk to people who ship and connect with people. But I think that last ship, we're so obsessed with the ship. We forget about that relation in the first part of it, because yes, friends, it's relationships. Those are the things chugging through these, estuaries of, commerce that connect us. And I love it because we don't have to care about any of this. And if you don't, then what? But I love that we do. We care about trade dress. We're saying, no, don't do that. No, you're not going to. The audience doesn't want that. Look at your competitors. Think. Just sit down. Think. And I love that we do that and we get paid for it. It's just amazing because I think if you want to be accountable, you have to talk about it, but you have to maintain the relationships. And you both are amazing people that we should hang out more. Zach, you can't keep just showing up and dropping beautiful, amazing people in our laps like Laurel, because I had a whole plan. We were gonna have espresso.
Yeah, we definitely derailed your agenda. Sorry, Jake.
I love it. I'm so happy.
I want to circle back to you guys spoke about early on. Oh, sorry, I cut every. Yes, this was awesome.
Do it.
Thank you for derailing the whole thing. Okay, so I appreciate everybody's thoughts on specifically what Zach said about be, do, say. Was that the order?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to challenge that because I believe that it's more of a do, say, be. And I think that it is how you act and how you communicate things, because language really does create realities. I think that there is an element, unless I'm misunderstanding everything, that and also it's probably a wheel, right? That is a flywheel, but I do think that being is relying on what you do and how you communicate that.
Before you answer that, Jay, I think you need to share your brand construct. Your model.
Jay has one?
Well, no, I just am
Yes, he just shared it with me this morning.
about that.
Well, I mean, mine is from Seth Godin, and it was in my book. And it's my product is for people who believe. I'll focus on people who want, and I promise that engaging with what I make will help you get.
Yeah, believe, want, but I think there is something about action and intent. I mean, that's kind of Jessica. Is that kind of where you're getting? Is like you do things first. Is that kind of what you're saying? And then
you become what you do and what you,
and then that is what you be. Because being is the existing.
Being also could be part of your intention, though, too. And intention happens before action. So I could see why it was ordered that way. However, I really like what you're saying, because I think it's about the coming full circle with your agreements, right? If it's to say be. I like the proposition of what you're saying. I just wonder, if maybe the being exists because it's the intention before the action.
Yeah, it's so I just posted the link to the author that coined the concept, Bob Domans, and the B is the discovery phase. They're like, what are we going to be? What does this brand mean to us? Who are we? It's the discovery. It's the building of the values and the principles and the things that you think that are the brand pillars that are going to hold up that brand. And then you do the things to make those brand pillars evidently true. And then once you've done those, then you go out and tell the world that that's what you are.
Well, I mean, yeah, that aligns with the branding in 3 steps philosophy. There's a very prolific author, that created a process that
on the
it's
back.
identity, intention, and implementation. The identity, the B process seems like, you're getting to know the people of the brand. You're getting to know what the brand stands for. Intention is how are you going to take that understanding and apply it to the brand, and then implementation is the execution, right?
And you can't go from identity to implementation.
I need to read your book, Jay.
No, you can't. You need. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the ingredients to authenticity.
Right.
This is making me okay. So this is behind the scenes. This is us getting ready to direct the film. Like that's kind of what I'm saying. This is all behind the scenes stuff. But one of the things that I think Jessica is kind of hitting on is that a lot of people think I'm going to think brave thoughts and then I'm going to do brave things. But the actual order of events in your brain is you do them and then you catch up with it. Yeah. So like a lot of people think I'm gonna logically do something, and then you're like, before you know it, you bought a Lamborghini with your kid's college fund. What the hell were you doing, bro? And you're like, I just got emotional, and I'm gonna make it seem rational, and that's how we actually work. And you're like, you're a fucking fool, because we are, before we even know what we're doing, we've done it, and then we're like, we'll go back and say that's what I meant to be. So I think there's something a bit there that's on the other side when the movie is being seen. But
that's also to the point of like, if you don't like that I'm quick, I'll be slow. Like if you don't like that I'm this, and I'll be that. I'll be whatever you want. Okay.
Right.
What I'm getting here is the Mac in a nutshell. Because let's be real about this. Okay, we're 1 year and 3/4 in this little journey, and we don't always have the most the biggest, clearest methodology of what we do. Sometimes we put it out there into the world, into the community, and we see how people react to it, and then we use that to create whatever it is we're creating. That's how Michael and I have started on the process of coming up with Dagent. And maybe some companies should do a little bit more of that instead of working for 6 months to field research and refine it, and then make sure it's perfect with privacy, and then release it. But by the time you release it, it's out of date and it's boring and it's irrelevant. I think it would be better if we actually just did more and then caught up with it, as long as we're aligned with the same founding principles.
One of the I don't read a lot of books. The ones I'm very particular about the ones I read. And one of the great books that I read was The Complete Guide to Not Giving a Fuck.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Yes.
And
Interesting.
One of the best examples that I remember from the book was this guy who was saying that he thought that he wanted to be a guitarist in a rock band, because he had this vision of what that would be like. And then he instead of acting on that, he was like always coming up with reasons why that he couldn't start it right away. Like, oh, I have to do this and then I can do it. Oh, I have to do that before I could do it. And the reality is, as someone who's done this multiple times, you just start doing if you have a passion for something. And you don't necessarily have the preparation for it. You figure it out as you go. Like in the guitar example, if you want to be a guitar player, how many examples do you know of great guitar players who just picked up a guitar and they taught themselves, right?
I mean, they all did that slowly. Everyone did that.
Formal training. They didn't it was just like, I see that. I want to do it. I'm going to get a guitar.
No, that's very rare. That's pretty rare. And a lot of that involves brain damaged people. That's true.
But
some
there
people
is
have been struck by lightning and can play the piano really good.
There's something to say for making space for the evolution by Zach.
Hey, can I make space? We add Laurel to the invite list?
Of course.
Definitely.
Great.
Hey, Zach, you are in. Before you go, you're in Santa Rosa now.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
I used to live in Santa Rosa. I went to Sonoma State.
Half past the Quick Mart. No, near the In-N-Out. No, you've gone too far.
Near the In-N-Out, yes.
Y'all have a different call. Get off of here. We're live and we're doing this.
All right.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
don't get me.
Santa Rosa is a great spot. There's Laurel's email. You can.
Everybody.
I got it. I'm emailing her right now.
See you guys.
Bye, everybody.
I just gave America Laurel's email.
Yep.
She's got a great little agency too.
Give it a whirl.
Is America two people?
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, there's something to be said for making space for the evolution, which we don't do enough of. We want to come out of the womb a fully formed human being, and it doesn't work like that.
And the vesting, you said something about vesting, which I think is a really good word. I think that was like, oh shit, I haven't really. And you're like, you're a caterpillar, and you have to they don't. Right. You're a lobster, and no, they don't. You're a tree, and no, I don't. Use a financial fucking metaphor for God's sakes. Vested. Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, you don't get that special thing until it's here. You know what I mean?
Here, right? Like you got to nurture it and water it and grow it. And yeah, it's a thing. Like I think we all have a destiny. We're all born with skills and things that we're good at, right? But we have to nurture those things. We have to hone in on those things. We have to identify them, grow them, and then we become something. And I feel like in business in particular, life obviously, but business in particular, we don't make any room for that. It's like, if it's not fully formed now, screw it. It sucks. Get rid of it. Start over.
And I love that because I'm connecting the fact that we just said we're building in public, we're live, we're doing it and being it and saying it and live. We're just kind of cooking because you can't go quick. You can't go slow. We just got to build, and we're going to build.
We got to build.
But I'm saying the CEO is saying that too. And they're like, get out of here, marketing team. I got to build. So everybody's just got to build. Everybody's got to build, So it's like, at the end, if everybody's building, you're not building one building together. I just think it's like we're not making one building anymore. We're not making skyscrapers. We're making just like disconnected favelas that are stacked up on top of each other. And we're like, where's the structure? So it's hard. You got to slow down. Nobody wants the pause button, but I think it's good. You got to be to say, we had a great talk today.
This was great.
Friday, enjoy your weekend.
Yes. Oh, we're leaving. I wanted to
No. That was it. Sign off. Well, that's it.
Can I drop a truth bomb anyway?
Yeah, do it.
Sure.
What I'm contemplating these days is, instead of being a marketing service provider, building something that allows me to apply all these principles that I have, that I believe in, that I could apply. Like, this is what we're doing with what we're building here. This is what we're doing with the Dagenty. We're applying all these principles with people that align with those principles. It's a lot different to do that than to come into a system where, let's say, it's owned by private equity and it's set up to fail. You can't do any of that stuff in there, right?
Right.
So, I mean, so how do we, like, that? I think that gives me a lot of clarity. It's like, this organization, we are in it together. We meet and we talk about it, and it's a labor of love. How many people go to work and feel that way about some marketing assignment that they have this much insight and visibility into?
I think people do care, and that's the thing. That's why we get burnt out.
I was just thinking about this today, and I was thinking about you, Jay, and I was thinking, like, okay, if Jay were to now go get a generic corporate marketing job, knowing what he knows.
Oh God. Could you imagine?
He couldn't do it. Like he'd be in there and
goods, bro,
being told to do all this stuff, and it's like, I don't believe in any of this stuff. It's wrong. Like, this is a whole new paradigm starting, and like, I can't do it. Like, I was thinking about that, Jay.
You can do it. Believe me, you can do it.
If that paycheck clears.
I might have to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Here's I live. I wanted to kind of just read this. Here's something I saw on LinkedIn, and I was like, whatever. Tip for marketers from a CEO. It says, when you ask for budget,
I saw that you posted that.
Yeah, you're not just asking your CEO to give you money to spend. You're asking them to spend that money on your initiative instead of one more account executive, a product feature, or a support rep. Same goes for time. Every project you take on means something else has to wait. As a marketer, you have to put yourself in their shoes. When I put on my CEO hat and consider a budget request, I'm wondering, is it the best use of our time? Will this move the needle more than the other 10 things we could do with this money? Are you ready to execute, or will it drag out, slow down other priorities? If you want to get your initiative approved, don't just talk why it's valuable. Sell why you believe it's more valuable than anything else on the table. And I was like, fuck this fucking guy, because I don't know what else is on the goddamn table. And you tell me that I need an account executive and you don't let me talk to the salespeople. You want a product rep? I don't know what's happening in product. Like, tell me what's going on. Like, I was just like, is this? And I was like, don't say anything.
That's a whole discussion for a whole nother meeting.
I know, but I just thought that was like connected, and maybe that is the piece that we end. We'll talk about Zach's thing from Avenue Inc., the like CEO exodus, which I don't know if that checks out, but that's from March. So we'll see if that research is held up, and then maybe I'll compare this, and we can talk about the CEO marketer tango.
I love that. Okay, so this was a short after hours, but thank you all. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Jessica, did you get my message?
Yeah, can we shut off the thingy? I gotta
shut
go.
It off.
I
gotta go.
Record.
All right, you're going.